Hey folks, you're listening to the Java Easily podcast, episode number 18.
Java Easy. News, tutorials, tips. Everything you need to know as a beginner Java developer.
Hey there, welcome back to the podcast. Now, first of all, before we start, if you're a complete beginner to Java and you want to get a helping hand getting set up and beginning your Java journey, then just go to javaeasily.com and go grab our Java Beginner Starter Kit there. It's completely free, it's a super helpful guide, it's going to get you up and running really quickly with Java, and it's just a really good resource for absolute beginners to get started with Java programming. Anyway, let's jump into the episode now. So these next few episodes, which we're going to do, are really a response to a lot of comments I've been getting where people are having issues with object-oriented engineering or the concept of objects in general in Java. So I just want to run over a few points which you might find helpful and which might hopefully unblock you, at least mindset-wise, when you're trying to learn all about objects and things like inheritance, encapsulation, polymorphism, design patterns, and that kind of thing. In my opinion, there are different levels to object-oriented understanding, okay? And I think this is the main issue that people have, is that because they're new to OO and they're new to objects, and because they haven't come across all of the different kind of nuances or the different levels to this, because they're just not aware of it, then it's kind of blocking them. So yeah, there are different levels to OO understanding. When I say OO, I mean object-oriented. Or you can just think of working with objects in Java. What are these levels then, and how do they relate? So we're going to explore these over the next few episodes in a kind of a mini-series about how we can look at these different levels of knowledge or understanding of OO concepts. And we'll reveal each of these as we go through the episodes in this mini-series. So the first of these to look at, the first of these levels, is the syntax. So in the beginning, the first thing you need to understand to become proficient with coding with objects is that you have to know about the syntax. In other words, you have to know about the syntactical structures that Java gives you to be able to even offer these OO software engineering techniques. You have a class in Java, and I think most people can comprehend what a class is. A class is a data type which doesn't just have data within it. That is, it doesn't just hold the state for an object. So think of a person object, the classic example. The state of a person object might be the age and the name. So the age of the person, the name of the person, the so-called properties of that object. It doesn't just have the properties, doesn't just hold this state, but it also has methods as well. Sometimes called behavior, but let's keep it not too abstract for now. This behavior effectively just is a bunch of methods defined on that class. So yeah, the object has not just properties, not just state, but it also has methods too, or behavior. And these methods are there to somehow operate on this state. So you'll have different types of methods. You can have private methods, which are visible only to that class. You can have protected methods, which are visible to subclasses. And more importantly, though, you have public methods. So the public methods you expose on an object are effectively the way in which a user of that class or of that object is going to interact with that object. Another example might be, for example, a dog. So if you have a dog class, maybe the dog has a name and the dog has a method, bark. Or maybe it has a few methods, bark, eat, and, well, we'll just stick to two. Bark and eat, the two things that dogs can do. Now, the base level of thinking about objects are going to be about the syntax constructs that Java gives you to be able to facilitate different OO ideas. So, for example, the syntax constructs which Java give you to create these concepts of person or dog are the class keyword for defining the class, and pretty much from a beginner's kind of level, the public and private keywords for declaring the so-called visibility of either properties or methods. So now we've got some syntax. We've got three keywords: class, public, and private. So class enables you to declare a class. The properties on that class will be private. In other words, only this class can have visibility to those properties. This is this concept of information hiding or encapsulation, meaning that that class doesn't expose those properties, those data members, out to other classes who can then access them directly by doing things like myClass.age equals, and then just assigning an age arbitrarily. So these properties, they're marked typically with the keyword private, which enables this information hiding, this encapsulation to take place. And of course, once you have this state inside the class, which is encapsulated in the class, the only way that you can change that state is by offering public methods out to users of the class, which enable those users to interact with the class in some way. So typically, you'll find such methods as being marked with the public keyword. So to recap, three pieces of syntax: the class keyword and the public and private visibility keywords, all working together to give us this concept of encapsulation, where we have the properties inside the class as private, they're only accessible to the class itself, but having a method or some methods which are public, which enable a user of the class to be able to somehow interact with that class in whatever way we see fit. So this means if I'm a client of that class, if I'm a caller or a user of that class, right, I might be able to invoke a method, say haveBirthday, on a person object, and that public method, haveBirthday, is public to me so I can call it, and that public method itself then has the ability, because it's inside the class, to increase the age by 1. When you have a birthday, you get older by 1 year, for example. But notice that the caller of the class cannot just arbitrarily assign, say, 56 to the age, because that would go against this concept of encapsulation. So that's what encapsulation is all about. It's about information hiding and ensuring that the class only is the thing that can change the state of itself. And that in and of itself is quite an abstract concept for people to deal with. Okay, so that's the first part of this first level then, really. So the first level we said is about getting to grips with objects, we said, is really about understanding the syntax. And in this episode, we've covered the first part of this core syntax, and that's related to how we can define classes and hide their members, that is their internal state, using this concept of encapsulation, using those keywords that we've just discussed. Now, that's going to wrap it up for this episode. The reason being is that I want this mini-series to just consist of short, bite-sized episodes where we just give you the essence of what that particular concept is, and we don't overwhelm you too much by bringing in other related concepts or what have you. And in this way, you'll then be able to let each concept soak in for the week, kind of marinate in your brain, as it were, so that you really come out the other side of this mini-series really understanding how to think about objects in Java. So that's about it for today. All that remains to say is have a great day and happy coding. Bye.